We're finally here. Soil, water, and herbage tests. You and people have been asking for this. The crowds have gone crazy, and you have supplied.
Yeah.
The case study people.
The case study people, and they want to know what we do and whatever else. So, yeah, we've used our own farm to actually go through the process about how we look at these things, what are we looking for, what are the improvements we see other than what's happening above the ground, and how do we adjust when things change, which they do. And this is a perfect example. We've seen some fabulous growth in soils. Some parts are going, that's a bit, and then you can see, there's the part that's missing, or we need to add to this, or we saw the result from what we did last year, and we go, that worked, cool. What are we going on with? The biggest thing of all with this part is we grow soil. Soil needs minerals just the same as anything else.
Yeah.
So when you grow the soil, it's actually you're trying to put the minerals in place so that it will grow at a balanced level. And then what it gives up to the plant, then what it gives up to the animal or whatever you're growing is in a nice balanced form, and everything gets the benefit of it. And it's been a journey.
Yeah, and it has. And I mean, we've had some really great feedback on the previous videos that we've shot in here. And we've also had a lot of people asking about real life case studies.
That's right. I've got several others like this that have been on for quite a while, and it is an absolute scientific journey, to tell you the truth. And it's like I can't find any other case studies anywhere else in the world that they've gone to the level of what we're doing now with total tests, available tests, herbage, water, everything like that, and how we go out to do the testing and the real life end results in the beef animals that come off the farm.
Yeah. So right now we're going to go to the farm.
Yes.
From some pre-recorded footage from just yesterday.
Yes.
And then we'll come and talk about the actual results on them.
That's right. Yeah. We did the testing over, a bit of back in November, most of the testing. So we're in December now. So we're just going to talk about what we got, but we're going to go through the process of what we did.
All right. Let's go to the videos.
I'm just finishing off these soil tests, and you've got to be really accurate of where we've been the year before. So I'm just coming up to a place and a step to the left and then a step to the north and a step to the east, and bang, there we go, 0. We got the GPS, we're at the very first plug. Now the critical thing is that when you decide to name an area, it's got to stay the same forevermore when we're doing soil testing, so it can all be collected correctly and then the GPS coordinates follow through. So I put my GPS down and I get my trusty probe out. Then oh, brilliant. Okay. And so this now is my representative sample for this year. What we've done is we've named it EcoFarm Front. It's a 150mm sample, and I will come up and I will take the photo. Really important, because on the series of photos that we take, the 16 that we take, that one will be first, and it's the identifier to the soil type that went. This is also identifiable back in the office because all the GPS points go together with that, and then we know exactly where it's come from. We have a visual record, and that visual record inside of the photo that we've taken, day, date, time, exact position, so that we can come back here when we want to do the soil test again. Really important for data collection. So then from that, click out, just go back to the map so I know where to go to next. And I have my 2 buckets. So I have my EcoFarm 150 bag, and we drop that into the bucket and we keep them there. And this is the greatest tool of all, the 6-inch bolt. It's really important because it is exactly 150 mils long and it's really useful. So I can cut my sample, put my 150 in there, and I can take my next sample there and I can put it in there. Now you can see, before I do, you can see the carbon starting to grow, the soil growing in the depth there. So this is the physical side of it. You can see visibly that the soil is getting deeper. We've had a week of really dry weather and it's nice and moist, so we know we're in good order. And then we're just going to pop that in there. bang on. Okay, and then off we go to the next sample. The reason for the bolt is actually twofold. It's a very good cleaning device as well. And off we go.
Well, that's a very thorough explanation of how it all works and how you get the samples. So now your actual samples came back. And on the left-hand side, up on the screen there, we've got a 2024 comparison of a soil sample with a 2025. But it's more than one page. So shall I just flick through the pages real quick?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the part where I really want to break it down about gathering that information is so important. Like you saw the steps we went through out on the farm.
Yeah, and it's pretty complex in a sense, like to be accurate.
Yeah, and this is the problem. No one has been.
Ah.
Like the level of quality of soil testing, depth, what you're testing for, how you make decisions has been, what do I say, bloody appalling.
Mm.
And like I would have only dreamed of having the ability to get this when I first bought my farm. Somebody came to me and said, well, this is what your problems are. This is what you're going to have to budget for. This is where you're going to have to go. Okay, all right. So and that's a big thing. Even if you're buying a farm, you go and do a soil test first if you really want to know.
Well, you don't buy someone else's car without a thorough check, right?
Well, you'd think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But basically what they do at the moment is like, oh, it has an excellent fertilizer history. So, yeah, what did it have? So anyway, this is the usual tests, like the Brookside test. There's other outfits, Perry's and that, doing these sorts of tests. They're showing the base saturations and the from the year to year. But these are just the starting point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we look at that, oh, that's interesting. Okay, in 2024 and what's going on. And like we can see here, boron, that was a big thing last year. We really ran out of boron, showed up as also through with the herbage test. So what are we going to do about it? How does this change this? So we put on 5 kilos of boron last year on this farm, and it went up to 0.71. And we'll see in the herbage test it went up. So like these are decision points, okay?
Well, let's just quickly flick through these pages so we can dive deep into the key ones, yeah?
Yes,
all
absolutely.
Right. So the next page up on screen is showing just another page from the report, but I've just quickly extracted that out so you can see the 24 versus 25 comparison.
And this is where everything's not even in the world, okay?
Huh.
Now, this is the big teller that, things are on the move. Now, this is my carbon test from 150 mils to 300 mils. Okay, now 2024, I've got 2.96% carbon, organic carbon, at a 0.74 bulk density. On the other 2025, I've got 0.75 bulk density and I've got 4.17% organic carbon. But it equates to over 10 tonnes of carbon per hectare increase in a year.
Yeah.
Now, these are the things that are really, really important. When you see that happen, you go, okay, I'm growing soil at a rapid rate of knots. And what we're seeing is migration of nutrients up and down. And as we get more depth in the soil, we get massive changes in growth. And we have to know, why is that doing that? What's the limiting factor? Is there a limiting factor? What do we got to do next year? So we'll carry on to the next test.
So what do you call this section of this test? What is this referring to?
This is really referring to our carbon growth in the soil. This is part of it.
Okay.
Now, in the front test, that was the 150 to 0 to 150, and it had a very similar, it has exactly the same tests.
Right.
So we can calculate up the carbon in the soil.
Okay, so when I go to the next page, what's this then? This
is the total chemical melt of the 0 to 150 millimeters of your soil.
Okay.
Now, this is...
Are you pleased with the change?
Well, yes and no, but I mean, it's like, am I pleased or am I, look what's happened there. I need to tend to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is really interesting because the boron level last year when I was really short was at 20 parts per million total.
Yeah.
And it's only
sitting at 12.9 now.
I know. What's happened to my boron? But I know where it's gone. It's gone into that next profile to grow soil.
Okay.
And so,
because you actually have the evidence of the depth too.
Absolutely.
So it's like a loss isn't a loss when you see the change into the effect of what it's done.
That's right.
Growing more soil.
And these are the difficult things to sort of come to grips with. But like, you look at the calcium, they're just about exactly the same. Phosphorus is just slightly higher within the margin of errors. Everything else is quite similar. Okay. And going, zinc dropped. Zinc, where did that come from? It went up 10 points.
You've gone from 39.5 to 49.7.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But if we look at the aluminium, so we've gone up.
Now, hang on. We don't like aluminium.
Yeah, no, we don't like aluminium. This is total aluminium. This is like the structural framework of your soil, okay?
Because no, this is going to get me on the math front. I don't math too good. But total is going to be not necessarily bad if it's more if you've had a huge growth.
Well, no, the total is more about like what format is it in? Like it's like an aeroplane, okay?
What format?
Okay, the aluminium in an aeroplane's structural, right?
Yes.
Well, you don't melt it. Otherwise, you don't have an aeroplane.
No.
So, but in this regard, I'd say this is part of the intermingling of soil going up and down and the changes that we're getting in the growth.
Okay.
Because you got to look at when you start growing soil down the bottom, it's because the cyanobacteria started functioning and the worms are starting to bring it up and down.
Okay.
All right. So, okay, we've learned something. The boron actually went down. What am I going to do?
Oh, that's right. Look, I hate to make you think I'm learning anything, but in previous early soil test discussions, we talked about a fight between boron and aluminium.
Absolutely. And so I get to go, I'm going to have to attend to that this coming year again, because if I'm going to keep growing soil and growing more grass, I cannot neglect that. So that's bang, first test has come up.
Okay.
Copper's, it's hanging in there. Maybe we might need to put a little bit more, maybe not. We haven't used a lot.
Well, it's gone up a bit.
Yeah, fractionally. It's within the margin of error, put it that way.
Oh, fair point. Yeah.
Okay. So, then we go to the next stage.
I just want to say that if you're watching at home and you find these really tiny on screen, don't worry, because now we're about to get bigger. This is just 2024 essential things large on screen to see.
Yes. Okay. And so these are the numbers. Now this is the complexity of what we're looking at, how things change and convert. And you start going, well, that didn't make sense. Everyone says that I need 68 to 70% calcium and 10 to 12% magnesium, and I need this and that and the other thing. Okay. Soils actually tend to go there by themselves as this process is moving. But I can see, like last year, so I wasn't that happy about the magnesium level. But did we get enough in the plant? And we've got to look at, was there enough in the soil?
Why weren't you happy about 7.87 in 2024?
I'd like to see it up at 10. Okay.
Okay.
Right. And the numbers too, like where are we? 180. I'd like it a lot higher than that availability. But we've got to look at the soil is that we nearly got twice as much soil now in depth.
So that's fantastic.
Yeah. So even though it's not perfect in the top 150, when I go to look at it, I've got now 300 mils of soil instead of 150. I'm now balancing a much bigger beast.
Yeah. And you would then have a whole lot more leeway on some things too, wouldn't you? When you've got that much more good going on?
Well, yes and no, because in our soils, the bottom 150, the raw volcanic ash that we're dealing with is garbage.
Okay.
Right. If I went to Taranaki, I could take the top off and just start again.
So you can't just necessarily go deeper in a sense if that bit's garbage. You've got to have really productive cyanobacteria and worm castings.
Right. Absolutely. But that means that my job is I've got to be really accurate. Because I'm dealing with the next layer of rubbish where a lot of farms around the country has actually got soil
that they can just go deeper and deeper into.
Yes, but there might be a limiting factor. So if we're in Canterbury, right down the east coast and then across the bottom, Southland, if you don't attend to your copper, you won't grow any soil. In fact, you'll grow a whole heap of trouble. Now we see in the totals in the copper over here, we're at 14. We're seeing these in Canterbury in that round 3 to 8.
Well, you're 14.6. That's pretty good then.
It is. But if you go to Taranaki, it's 50.
Oh.
Because that's what came out of that volcano.
That's right. Yeah.
And we see these soil tests change because, if you migrate across to Ruapehu, all of a sudden there's a bit of a hazy line where they cross over the two volcanic and then it changes. And Ruapea didn't have near the amount of copper
Okay.
that Taranaki did.
Okay.
So, but the phosphorus, the calcium, and everything else that came out, it's God's land, honestly. It's absolutely amazing. So if we go to the next test, we go 2025, and these are the things that I want to look at. I go, oh, cool, all right. So in the available test, which is what we've got over here, there's the availables. pH went down a little bit. What's going on there? That's partly to do because of the migration of calcium down in the profile. And what I do know now is that we definitely need to make sure, if I'm going to bring the calcium back up, I need to keep going after this guy here.
The boron.
Yeah. Now, because it's really an indicator of what's happening at the moment. My calcium's too low. I want that over 3.5 for our types of soil.
It's at 2,500.
Yep.
You want it over 3,500.
Yeah. Okay. And I know where I'm going to get it from. Here. Okay. So this is the totals. 5,106. Now, we do know
That's
this.
so cool, isn't it? That you can see where you can get it from.
Yeah. So what I need to know is that I do know that if I get my boron up and I get my silicon up, I can pretty much guarantee that I'll get my calcium back up.
Yeah.
But I know what's happened, and we went into a major boron deficiency last year, and it will show in the herbage test, which we did last year, which really showed in the animals. And so we're on a massive learning curve. We're going, redirect, straighten up, get more information, go forward. Where other farms where your soil is more similar right the way through, they're basically, if you know what's going on down there, your total soil sample, this sort of stuff isn't quite the same issue.
Okay.
Because ours has got nothing. So we're redoing the whole job, really.
Well, this speaks again to what you were saying about you can go deeper onto these other farms where there's just more goodness to extract.
Yes, absolutely.
You've got to be more accurate when you don't have that. Yeah, okay.
Seriously more accurate.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing that I see with these regenerative farms and all this sort of stuff is like some people go, oh man, it's so easy. I just did this and did that. And then it stopped. And go, did you test? What for? This regenerative farm is really cool. Go, did you test? Why? And then they go, it stopped. And go, yeah, so what's the limiting factor? Oh, we don't know. Go, should have tested. It's very cheap, very economical, very sharp. Learn to know what's going on.
Right.
And they just, well, to me, they just go, okay, we've got to deal with this. And as we add new facets into the process to get a better balance and a higher production, we do need to be more and more accurate.
What makes you speak about the regenerative farms like that? Because, I mean, they're good guys, right? They're the ones that are doing everything as naturally as they can. Or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, maybe not. Some of them are using sprays to put in cover crops and all that sort of stuff, and that's all very well. But if they haven't attended to this sort of information level, there's no long-term gain to be made because the soil will not hold the carbon. They will not hold the increase in production if you haven't attended to the limiting factors.
Okay. And do you have anything at this point to say about those top-tier massive industry farms that where this could apply for them?
Oh, if they only knew.
Oh boy, they'd be making so much more money.
Oh, it's a ridiculous process of actually understanding exactly what you need, not what somebody wants to sell you.
Yeah.
And like this year, since we put the boron back in, I'd have to say we probably grew 20 to 25% more grass this spring. And I can see where we've done some things last year, just playing around on trial plots and that to see what's going. We've got another 20% to come next year.
That's pretty good.
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's not just tiddlywinks. It's like, oh my God, look at this. So we'll move on from here. So like this is the starting point of the information of what we need from a farm to make good decisions. When you go to a farm the very first time, basically the soil test is king. Herbage Tink's not going to tell us much. It's going to tell a little bit, but it's good to do it the first year. But the second year is really, what's it doing now once we've given it a bit of a nudge and things are starting to move? Where are you at? Because there's things that happen as farms change. Like if you put in the silica and a bit of boron, a bit of this, get the biology going, all of a sudden the molybdenum might shoot up because it's just been released and it can function.
Are you saying that herbage tests aren't necessarily as relevant to you if you're about to purchase a farm because they're sort of the evidence of last year's efforts? Is it like is it a tally of history?
No, not really. Like herbage tests are a tally of the systems of the farm, how it's feeling at the time.
Okay.
Like if it's biologically dead, the herbage test is pretty much a waste of time.
Wow.
Because it's not telling you, because as soon as you turn it on, all these things change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you in the herbage test some change between what happened last year and this year because we've grown all this more carbon, things that have happened, and why we have to be so accurate.
Okay, let's go to the herbage test video onto the farm.
Cool.
We're going to run through how we do the herbage test. It's a bit difficult to do it on a GPS coordinated process like we do with the soil because every year's grazing is different, and what we like to do is actually take the sample in the springtime, early summer, leading up to where the cattle would be grazing. The reason for that is that the variation in plants give you a better identity of the mineral availability. So things like cobalt don't come up in the plant, in any plant species, until legumes come. So then if you've got legumes and there's no cobalt, then there's a good indication you've got no cobalt. So these are the reasons we do this at this time of the year. And it is really important because when you get down to elements like cobalt, molybdenum, selenium, iodine, nickel, you can't really accurately test for those in a soil test because it's the volume basis. So the herbage gives you a much better identification of what's available in the plant and help you come. So what we need to do now is we've got our Eurofins test, and we have actually got a specific test that we've labelled because of all the things that we need that most people don't look at. Some of the really important ones like silica and aluminium, nobody's doing that, well we are, and we can actually see the relationship between the two of them and when the thistles disappear, and we'll see that on the herbage test when we go back into the studio. Well, I'll just make a slight apology. This is 2 weeks after what I would normally do the herbage test. We usually do them at the end of November, mid-November, and we're now into mid-December. But I'm going to give you an idea of what we do. So we've come in, the cows are going to come in here. They're over there standing in walls of grass. They're going to come across here, so we're only a few days away. So this is a paddock of mature feed that we want to ascertain what the mineral status is right through the whole lot. Potassium, calcium, magnesium, sodium, molybdenum, iodine, nickel, cobalt, selenium, all of these things, silicon, aluminium, and these all help us make good decisions. So I have a really cool tool for this, which is akin to an old shearing clippers, and I can get down here and I can clip the grass along as I go, and look what turns up. Now the key thing in this whole process is not to get any soil in it, because the soil brings it out. You'll get massive manganese and iron effect in the herbage test. So we pop that in there and we carry on, we do that. You get reasonably close to the ground, just like the animals would eat it. We want to replicate them munching away. You don't have to do the mooing. We pack that up, get a little bit more. So this is the thing, is like we've got all the species here. We've even got a little bit of buttercup, but like we've got plantain, red clover, a little bit of white clover. The thing is that if we do it a little bit earlier on, we get the ryegrass in there as well, but it's all gone to seed. It's that time of the year. Pack that up and send it off to the lab. Always do it early in the week or on Sunday. Put it in the fridge overnight. Get it away to them as fresh as possible. No mucking around. Now, if you want to do these herbage tests, get in touch with us, and we have the right forms and the process to go through that you get enough information to make good decisions.
Okay, so we've seen a really cool process and how that's done to collect it, and I know for sure not to moo whilst clipping. And I also know now that you've got a unique set of requirements from your testing, from your lab. So what are the results show us from this?
Well, it was a great day wandering around in the sunshine. Pretty warm, though.
Yeah. I finally got some colour. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so good. Look, these are really important for us. Is that as the soil changes, I keep going. It's like we're growing soil. It's like we need certain things. If you're building a house, it needs a window, it needs a door, it needs this, it needs that. Otherwise, it'd be a pretty useless freaking house. It needs insulation, needs all these things. And soil needs the same thing. Our body needs the same thing. Like our animals need something. People need to give them B12 or a copper bullet or a zinc bullet or something like that. And going, well, I want to do it through the soil. And what I've found so far is that if we do this in the soil grows, then the grass grows, and then the animals grow, and then we grow. Probably too much, but too many steaks. But yeah. And this is a real example of looking at what happened from last year when we discovered that we ran out of boron. What's going on this year? What do we have to attend to next if we want to keep this process going on an upward scale?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we don't want to go backwards, but, every now and then we have a bit of a, what happened there? And that's where we have to be with our soil test and our herbage test, or observations, animals and everything, and going, okay, I see where we've gone. Let's go here.
It's quite cool for me to watch you doing this with what I consider a model farm, where even you're not always perfectly happy with everything, because you go, that's an interesting outcome. I mean, there's a great deal of authenticity to that, because someone who really cares passionately about getting things right is going to actually be maybe hard on themselves or hard on their farm to get things in that zone.
Well, I'm terrible for it. I'm always out there looking at it.
You're a bit of a perfectionist.
Well, it's just that sometimes, like you look at a cow and calf and go, wow, look at that. Why aren't the rest of them like that? There's always an opportunity to get better. You forget too, when I look about, the gorse disappearing and the weeds disappearing and all that, you forget this stuff. But I've always got this view of where I'd like to get to next.
Yeah.
It's a cool position to be in.
Yeah.
And it's great to be able to do this research all the time and watch what's going on and see the analyticals and go, oh, I know why that happened. Damn, wouldn't do that again. Or, that's a good learning part. And luckily, I am quite lucky that we deal with so many farmers up and down the country, and I see the variations up and down the country for different things going on. But I get to see this material and I go, okay, I'll see where that's going. I know what that soil type's like. How does that function with this? And you get a real-time life picture of actually helping the process. There's no point in doing this unless you're going to do some good. So these bar graphs are done on the averages, right?
Right.
Okay, so then they're not a real indication of what you really need. It's just a bar graph about what they get sent through. See, so up here when we look at this, go on this time again, nitrogen 4.5 to 5.5. Well, if that's the average which in the plant, man, there's some sick cows around the country. There's too much nitrate in there, and they're going to be deoxygenated. 2.85 bang on. This year we're a little bit later. I think it's probably more to do with me taking the sample a fraction later, and we had hot weather, so you just start to see that ease off. The feed really gets some density.
Right.
Up here, the grams of dry matter and the fat, they've both gone, oh no, that one's down a little bit, but these are actually giving out that these are a lot of dry matter and quite good fat levels, which is great. I mean, when you get that protein fat ratio and the nitrogen in order, it means the animals can digest the feed.
Okay, and I've noticed, because I'm casting my eye across dry matter in 2024 at 193, dry matter in 2025 at 155. Is that a bad thing to have that drop, or what is that?
No, well, it's just an interesting thing. I go,
yeah.
I'd say we grew a lot more grass, so maybe there's a variance in that part, but we've still got to look at, okay, what's the percentage of the nutrients that go with it,
okay,
and see where we go. And, there's some things in there that just glaringly to me, like...
Do you want to go into the full screen for 24 if there's something glaring so it's easier for them to see it?
Yeah, that.
Let's have a look. That's 24,
okay.
A little bit larger.
Yeah. So last year, we hit this issue here. And now, our boron was at 11 parts per million. Now, Jerry Brunetti, I think he wants it about 25 as an animal nutrition thing.
Yeah.
But we noticed it. Man, did we notice. Now, we see this is an average. And we're going, well, I'll tell you what, it's way too low to be an average on their bar graph of 6 to 15. That's just, no, we don't want it anywhere near there. But, one of
Hang on. This, you're saying 6 to 15, which is in the
No, I'm
green
not
zone,
saying that.
isn't good.
No, it's not good. It's too low.
What does Brunetti say about it?
Over 20.
Okay, and we're going to get to Brunetti stuff.
Yeah,
after
we're going to
this.
have a look at that afterwards. So, and like this thing here with copper 67, no, you need 9 to 10. So like when it says it's right at the top and it's actually on the right place, manganese should be, we're good there. All this is not too bad. Now, cobalt, 0.38, excellent. Okay, molybdenum 1.22, ooh, getting on the marginally lower, like we used, I think, 30 grams last year. Selenium still too low. Now, and this is one of the things I'll say about selenium. It does spike when you first put it on. It does have a necessary soil function where people didn't realize that before.
Right.
There's no doubt in the world that if you're growing cyanobacteria and you're growing humus, you use selenium.
Okay.
So you've always got to make sure that you've got that trickling in. That number's too low. So we're not too good. So aluminium, 18. I like that. I mean, I think the first herbage test I did, we actually got aluminium. It was 140.
That's a drop. That's fantastic to get down to 18.
Yeah, and I saw one the other day that had 1,500 parts per million. Poor old cows are eating aluminium blocks. So but this here is really interesting too. Silicon, 50.7 parts per million. Okay, that's an increase, but watch the relationship change when we go to 2025.
Okay.
Look at this. So we put on 5 kilograms of boron last year and we went to 16 parts per million.
Oh.
Bang. And it made a massive difference.
Selenium's up, just noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guess what? Our silicon went from 50 odd to 139.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. And our aluminium's down at 14. So now our ratios, where quite often we see when people starting off, the ratio is back to front. Where the aluminium's at 140 and the silicon's at 14 or 15. And I know that when you get it to a sort of like a 10 to 1 ratio like that, you won't have any thistles.
So how are people ending up with such high aluminium through traditional farming?
Acidic fertilizer, solubilizing the aluminium.
Okay.
And there's been no attention to the silicon whatsoever.
Okay.
Now, so that's really important. Like, we put the boron in and the silicon came up. And we know very well, the calcium level, that's quite good too for the springtime, 0.79. So these are the structural parts of an animal's growth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is a changeover period at the time of the year. We've gone from looking after an animal in the reproductive or cycling, you've had a calf, and this is going into the growth factor of the time of the year where things really start to grow. Lambs really start to put weight on, calves and that. And this is what you want with these clover species and that. You want to get these calcium levels right up. You want that silicon right up there. And so you see the changes that came about from what we did. But there's one thing that just made me just about drop dead. Well, my cobalt just fell through the floor.
Ooh, that's now at 0.03.
And Mr. Brunetti said 0.1 to 0.15 to start, and I was at 0.38.
Yeah.
So,
you were at a good spot.
I was in a good spot.
Can I just check that? Hang on, just go back one. Cobalt 0.38, there it is. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, I'll go back now to 25.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Yeah, a little scary.
Yeah, a little scary. But
what do you do?
I'm feeding a little bit of cobalt to the animals through the mineral lick at the moment because we identified that issue, and I could see we've had a result with that already. And I'm going, okay, so calculate. I think I'll need about 1 kilo of cobalt per hectare to actually rectify that.
But you kick off with the standard Vitus?
Yeah, I was just using some Vitus to carry it and putting a little bit of cobalt and calculating in the amount of parts per million they need per day.
Okay.
To get the feed into them too.
But that's not the complete answer.
No, it's not. That's a short-term issue for those animals. Some people go to a B12 injection, which is the cobalt. But this has given me a real indication. Yeah, okay. I've seen some of the changes that came about from what we've done, some of the great things that have happened, but now the soil's got bigger. I want it to keep going. And I've seen some indications on some of the trial plots that, man, we can keep going. There's one particular one that I've done some more trials on, and the numbers that have come back on that is just like, oh, this is really exciting. And if I do this again next year and I attend to these little bits and pieces, it's outrageous. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I think next up is Brunetti, isn't it?
Yeah, and we'll have a look at this. Jerry was a really good guy. And this was all based on American nutritional process.
Okay.
But, I looked at him and go, geez, we'll never get that into the plant. But we're actually getting pretty close. But I over time now, I can actually say there's some things that I'll change. But, I mean, this is just an indication of things that he put out that were really cool to give us an indicator. Well, can we get there?
How long's Jerry Brunetti's info been around?
Oh, shit. He's passed away probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So when we look at this.
Yeah, but the point is, I mean, it's really solid. He's been.
Oh, it's solid. He was just
highly recommended. His ratios are on point.
Yes. And great nutritionist, animal nutritionist.
Right.
So from this part, like when you go copper 15 parts per million, well, I haven't been able to get near that. We're up to around 9 and 10, okay? Boron, 25 parts per million. The average was only right down in 6 to 11, I'd say that probably we need to be around 20 parts per million from what I'm observing with the cows and what's going on.
Interesting that you would say you need to be at 20 and his recommendation was 25. Why would you pick lower?
There's a difference. Where you take a herbage test, a feed test of incoming feeds for your animals, and you look at all the minerals and then you calculate the variances and like there's a deficiency. And if you're putting in solid minerals to actually replace them, to get them to a healthy state, it appears you need more of the mineral than if it was gone through a plant production. Now, we've definitely seen that with the boron. When we identified the problem with the boron last year, we were putting it in the feed. It certainly helped get the cows and calf, but it wasn't until the cows got to part of the farm where we had fertilized, within a few days, bang, there was a change in the cows straight away. And so this was the very difference that this is what he was calculating to. And I'm going, yeah, okay, if I get it right in the pasture, it doesn't necessarily have to be to the exact numbers, but I do know that this is a very, very good representation of what we sort of need to be. But we don't need to be as high on some because if it comes through that plant-grown form, it seems to be more available.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's this is part of where you're looking at science from where these guys are, in feedlots and mixing feeds for wintertime and all this sort of stuff. And then
you're comparing against sort of a traditional industrial farming process in the US?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it industrial what he was doing. He was really promoting a lot of grass feeding. But, like it gets pretty cold there in the winter and they got to pull the cows in.
The cows get shelter at night.
That's
right.
Yeah,
at least.
And he's just trying to build mineral supplements and that to actually get them to a really good nutrition. And so these are the things that we're outside all the time. We're trying to get it through feed all of the time. We are supplementing, with a Vitus and bits and pieces, trying to get that feed sample to perfection coming through the plant. And the better we get this, the less of those supplements they go after.
Can you just speak again to selenium one more time? Because what was it? You originally had 0.3, so you had higher than what he's got recommended there, and then it dropped.
No,
right?
it was the Cobalt one.
It was the Cobalt.
Yes. So I was 0.38 last year, and we dropped to 0.0 something or other, and it's well below his recommendation, and I can see it. You can actually see, okay, there's
what's the effect?
The animals aren't quite, they're just calves. Just not quite there, and I've just started supplementing it, and you can just see the changes. It's subtle, and
is it energy?
Thrift, which I call it, and farmers know what thrift and animals look like. They just get a bit more glossy, and they get a bit more fuller. I mean, the central plateau of the North Island were extremely cobalt deficiency, and they used to have a thing called bush sickness. And it was only one element, and these would just shrink away, and they would have no meat structure to them at all. So this is just the importance of some of these tiny, tiny minerals, just getting the right process. And it's the same in the soil.
Right.
don't neglect your soil.
Well, let's look at water tests. And this was quite a trip over on your farm yesterday, I have to say. It was a stunning little moment for us. I'm keen to see how this plays out with the water tests.
So this is our legendary pond. This was put in not long after Dad bought the farm. And what's cool about it is that there's 65 hectares that comes off our farm into this pond. It's our catchment, comes into this part of the farm. There's only about 100 metres of the neighbour's little small pond. So this is a real good snapshot of a representation of what we do on the farm. Really important for us because we actually can see what's happening. So it's pretty interesting watching the process because the water tests which we've just done, and we'll show you in the studio tomorrow. But if we look at the water coming off, it's pretty clean. Especially coming off a highly productive beef farm with, nearly 300 animals roaming around on it. The water test came back at 0.07 parts per million of nitrate. There was a little bit of turbidity. We had a big rain in the week before. And what also came back was really interesting. We only had about 4 or 5 the measurement of the E. coli in the water, which is about 1/50th of what they call safe levels for swimming. So it's, if you want to go swimming out there, she's all cool. A lot of people have said, well, it's the wildlife that caused the problem in the water. Well, when we got here, there was 200 ducks or so took off, and there's plenty more down there. It's not them causing the problem, it's the way we farm. And the water test that we're doing here is really a representation of what we've done on the farm. As we've changed the farm, we've seen this change. The original water test we did was 3.14 parts per million of nitrate, which is not that bad anyway, but it's nice to know. After that year, and we changed the way we were doing things, stepped up the technology in regard to the silicon application, understood the carbon growth, bang, down went the nitrates. Now we're in a beautiful situation where every year we're down below 0.1 of a part per million of nitrate. And considering that if you go to likes of Ashburton, they're sitting at 22 parts per million in their aquifers now. It's pretty serious. So, this is what you can do.
You're definitely very passionate about the kind of water that's coming off the farm and the results you're getting there. What is it that's so important about the way yours is coming off?
Well, look, it's a real reflection of how well the soils are working. That's all it is to me. It's like if the soils are really healthy, the manures from the animal get digested and put back in the soil. So we don't get phosphorus coming off the soil because the phosphorus only comes off when it comes off in manures, dung and things like that.
Mm.
So if the soil's working well, it's back in the ground. Cool. So the water's telling us that. Okay. The other part is this big issue about nitrates. And there's massive problems with nitrates in the water. Down in Canterbury, I think they're 22 parts per million around Ashburton at the moment. And there's a lot of connections to colorectal cancer and other issues that are going on, and people are trying to ignore it. We've done other videos on these.
Yeah.
Have a look at the nitrate video in the water, and you're going, it's not good. If it's getting away, your soils aren't working, and you're wasting nutrient. Like this, we took this one here in 2019. I just went right back. I thought, well, okay, let's just show you the continuity of how we're going on this process. So, like
2 different labs in this case?
We've swapped over urethans. And that, no problem with hills, but it was only the herbage test that I could do that I can get everything I want.
I see, all in one go.
All in one go. So I've swapped over for that. But nitrate N, 0.73 of a part per million.
Let's zoom in on it a bit. Here we go.
Okay, here we go. Nitrate N, 0.73. Okay, now look at this. Maximum acceptable value, 11.3.
What?
Now, that level on 11.3 was actually created because that's what they thought, that when the level gets to that, you get the problem about blue baby syndrome.
Now, we had a really good episode about this.
We did.
And in actual fact, it was, they from what I learnt, the professor said they misattributed E. coli when it was actually nitrate, right?
Yeah, well, either way around, okay? I say, and I've seen this and observed this, it's like if you have high nitrates, you will have E. coli, or there's a higher chance you will have massive
right.
E. coli.
That's right.
Now, this was actually, this test was done for drinking water, and this one, the second test is actually for what we call farm water runoff and that sort of stuff.
Okay, so slight difference
in
the requirement.
Yeah, but
yeah.
So, but look at that, 0.73. And the first time I put that out on Facebook, people laughed at me, said, you can't get it that low.
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't think you could get it that low.
Well,
funny.
You're dreaming. You're dreaming. Right?
What on earth do they think you make up the tests or something? I mean,
this is the level of what we're dealing with, is that people aren't looking at what's going on. Nitrate in, okay?
Yeah.
Now, if you look at what we are now, it's this year, 0.07. So there's a continuity of keeping it clean, you know?
Well, hang on. No, 0.07's even lower.
Oh, bugger me. It's 10 times less, isn't it?
Quite a bit lower.
Yeah, well, last year it was 0.05, so it's quite.
Oh, really? But with an MAV of 11.3, geez, it's nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting from this process down here, if you look at that, we didn't have the E. coli in the drinking water one, but here it's at 6, okay?
Okay.
Now it's, oh, God, I can't remember the unit number, whatever, but the Environment Waikato and them are saying that if you're over 200, 250 of these little E. coli, it's dangerous to swim in.
Okay, well, it'd be better than my local public pool then.
Probably.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is a real indication that our farm is working the way it should work. To me, it's like what leaves the farm is clean.
Yeah.
And it's a bit dirty and muddy, you know, you wouldn't want to drink it. Well, you could drink it. You wouldn't get any trouble with it. But like, this is what's wrong now, is that we're having an acceptable behavior to 22 to parts per million and saying, oh, the farmers can't do anything about it. Da. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And the information, as we've gone through this video today, is just merely the process to actually get things in order and put on your farm what you need to be highly productive and very environmentally friendly. But guess what? They go hand in hand.
Mm.
And so this is really important to me because it just shows that whatever leaves the farm's clean.
Mm.
The cattle and the products that leave the farm, they're in fantastic order. And that's how we should be farming.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed putting out good products.
Yeah.
So nobody can complain that I'm stuffing up the environment. I'm actually fixing it.
No, that's true. No one can make that complaint. And I suppose if you really want to fix the environment, you've got to look at fixing the soils and getting all of these tests in the right zones and ratios.
The biggest problem we have in all of agriculture is no one talks to each other. So like the soil scientists don't talk to the microbiologists, and the microbiologists don't talk to the environmental people, and on it goes. And you don't talk to animal nutritionists, and you don't talk to this. Instead of getting in a room and banging their heads together and going, there's too many nitrates in our feed for our animals. And they could go to the dairy company, oh, we've noticed that. Those nitrates, they turn up in our milk. We got milk urea nitrogen up at 40. And the vet could say, oh, it appears to me that when it gets to that level, we have really bad trouble trying to get cows and calf. But, oh, that's really showing up in the water sample, says Mr. Joy. Oh, well, we need to fix that, you know, but there's none of this.
Yeah.
And like, people can poke borax and fingers at me all the time and go, you're not an expert in this, and I'm not an expert in that, blah, blah, blah. And going, actually, I'm quite an expert in a combination of putting everything together to make it freaking work.
Yeah, you've got a really good touch of the overall holistic viewpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to get everything running really well.
I can't be a vet. I don't want to be a vet. I don't want to be a microbiologist, but I know a lot about microbiology, you know, like, but, you know a lot about animal nutrition. Oh, I wasn't an animal nutritionist and I wasn't a vet. Oh, but I watch my animals, and you can read, you can observe, and you do this training, and it's soils training, and that's the thing. From the soils training, God, I learnt so much, and then I go, but it's not working. What do I got to do next? So then we do all these other things, and we're just continually moving on and progressing about how good our farms can really be. And like that thing that I pointed out before, where we see the silicon and the aluminium flip and the thistles go away and the gorse, they go away. It's an absolute. They will not grow in those conditions when that happens. I haven't seen anyone else actually point that out before, but it's just something that we have observed along the dray going, look, there it goes.
Yeah, well, if you want to understand that better, we've got a really good weeds video.
Absolutely.
It just came out several weeks ago.
Yeah, and we should put in the part there about the silicon and the aluminium now that it's become so obvious to us in the tests that are going on. It's like, yep, there it is.
Yeah. You mean like if we were to do that weeds video again, you would add that info?
Yeah, I just add that next part in, yeah.
Oh, well, we could always do a weeds part 3.
Yeah, that's right. There's plenty of them around.
Did you want to reiterate anything a little closer up as it zooms in on it?
Not really. I mean, the thing is that the numbers are
2019 through to 2025. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's bloody great. It's really good what's going on. And as I say, I remember putting the numbers up on a Facebook page, and these young guys from Lincoln, where'd you get those numbers on the back of a bloody beer crate? They go, no, and I sent them the test numbers, and I said them this, and and then they sort of backed off a bit, and then I said, well, why don't you guys, look at this and look at that? Because I'd written an article on silica and water quality, because silicon has a huge part to play in this process.
Oh, really? And water quality?
Yeah, it's what you don't realise is the cyanobacteria that live in the water there, they need the silicon to grow a structure. And they are they're the first stage plants in the water cycle as well.
Yeah, and you explained how early on that you require good backbone to grass with silica. So if you want good tall grass, it needs the silica.
Yes, and it's the same thing with these, like the microbes. They need a structure. And
sure.
So all of these things, you need a silicon cycle in the water, and the water has cyanobacteria, and they take out any excess nutrient, turn them into plant food. Ducklings, fish, whatever else. And on goes the cycle, and they jumped up and down. And I gave them some books to read, and I actually sent them the ISBN number of silica in agriculture, which is a compilation of a huge number of studies on silicon in agriculture.
Right.
And they took it to the university professor. He said, it's all bullshit.
Oh, come on.
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
Wow.
And so this is the ignorance.
These are not on your list of approved reading textbooks.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh.
And so I don't know who's supposed to be right, in this process. Only what we see happens and what we've got going on.
Yeah. Well, observe nature and read books.
Yeah.
And if they don't match, throw away the books.
Yeah. So to understand your own farm is to be really accurate. I know it's a lot to take in. That's a lot of guys have said to me, I watched that soil video 7 times. I'm still working it out.
I saw that comment on YouTube. Great comment. Yeah.
But they are starting to get it. And certainly if you get your soil tests and you continue down the process, you can actually be really confident in yourself and going, see that? Oh, yes. And then the clients come back, oh, I noticed on my soil test this, and going, now you're getting the picture.
Yeah, it's an important one to get your head around. Rian just said to us, our producer, someone recently commented saying, I watched your soil test video so many times I burnt my breakfast. Sorry about that. Yeah. Well, I guess as always, the real answer is fix your soils. Another good answer is if you like it, subscribe, send it to a friend, and reach out to us if you've got comments, because we love that engagement. Thanks.
Yes, and don't forget to put your questions in, because we're going to be starting to go through and do some videos on most popular questions, or ones that are really, that's a good question.
Yeah, if you've got some good questions, put it in, and maybe some challenging ones.
Cool as.
Keen to dive deeper? Check out our audiobook, An Eco-Farmer's Discovery, on Spotify, or grab our free ebook, The 6 Things You Need to Improve Soil and Farm Profit. Links in the description.